me what you see when you look at me. Do you see another brother lost in these streets looking for his soul?
Trying to find my soul.
Or do you see another brother searching for lost souls in these streets? A street soldier.
Street soldier.
Here to help you get that chip off your shoulder, warm your colder days and sober your drunken ways, and find a way to help you get over these hurdles placed in our path. And this is not meant to amuse you. This is for all those who have questions but are afraid to ask.
I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid. No. When times get hard, you lose your way. Open your mind and hear what I say.
This is a message for the hard and the soft. To those who tune in weekly and to those who keep an eye out for 8 p.m. on Sundays and turn their radios off. The truth hurts. The cloth has been pulled. We're walking around half dead. Use this show as your IV. Alive and Free is a new movement. We've achieved self-destruction. A street soldier promotes self-improvement.
Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah. Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah.
Vanita Lee-Tatum, welcome to
The background is cool.
Soldier.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah. Welcome to Alive and Free.
Thank you,
Welcome
guys.
to our show. Thank you. And you've been on the show before, but you've been on with other people.
Yes.
So this time I said, I just want her. I just want her. I just want Vanita. And Vanita, I think you've heard me say that this is the 35th anniversary of Alive and Free, Omega Boys Club, and the 30th anniversary year of Street Soldiers Radio. And all year long, we have been celebrating, in particular, our alumni.
Yay!
Alumni.
So exciting.
And we've been celebrating our alumni during this 35th year. I can't wait till we get our next year's annual report this year, because we're gonna have a big thing on 35 years and folks. But we are just so proud of all of our alumni.
Yes, we are.
And but we can't have all of them on the show at one time, so we take one at a time. I want to go in depth, and you just, everything you've done has just been so remarkable. I mean, and you're gonna talk about your journey, but let me just say, it just keeps spiraling up. You're like a stock market.
There's been some.
In a way, you parallel the club, because the club started and it continued to grow and blossom. And I think in our 35th year, we're better than ever, because we just learn more and we continue to get better and attract young people. And of course, the results pile up on themselves.
They do.
You just keep like, man, I mean, damn, girl, what this guy's girl? She here, she is. So I just
Dr. Marshall, I cannot smile any harder than I'm smiling right now. So
but here's the whole thing about Alive and Free and Street Soldiers. We don't lie, we tell the truth.
always.
We do not tell it. Everything I'm saying is true. Now, let me just go back to it. For us, and I got you and Chris and NECA and Dre, and if I start I make a name of, for us, you came to us as young teenagers, right?
You did.
And there's nothing better for parents or parental figures in this case than to see their children ascend. And first, alive and free. That's number one. Got to keep them alive and free. And I figured if we could do that, then your natural, innate gifts would just take off. And I don't think any alumni we have has shown that as expressed as, any better than you. So, take all the praise, take all the flattery, because like I say, we don't lie here. We didn't lie to you then, and we ain't lying to you now.
Right.
So, off the top, say congratulations. Thank you for spending this time with us and taking us through your journey. And I noticed you posted some great stuff on LinkedIn. You posted the show on LinkedIn. I mean, I posted it. Ann posted it. You posted it. And I think your caption, and I don't know if I have it in front of me, was from the life of from a troubled teen too. So
Yeah.
I want you to start at the beginning.
Oh, wow.
How we met, go all the way back, and just take people through the journey, because the story is remarkable, and the journey was remarkable, and the top end, which hasn't been yet seen,
Oh my gosh.
it is remarkable. So this is, everybody who's listening, this is a book. She's only in chapter whatever. I don't know what the chapters are coming after, and those
It's
pages
unfolding.
are written. So we're just going through all the pages that have been written so far. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanita Lee-Tatum, alumnus of Alive and Free Omega Boys Club.
Wow. I mean, that was quite the introduction. I mean, luckily I know you, or I will just fall apart. This is such a tremendous honor. Thank you so much for inviting me to come and speak on this beloved platform, and for being such a pillar within our lives and our community. Yes, I'm an alumna of Alive and Free. I came in 1997. I can never forget, it was the summer and I was 15 and I was in dire straits. I just, life had been happening at such a tremendous speed, and a lot of it was traumatic. A lot of things that had come my way that I have been able to withstand. And by the time I reached the front steps of Omega, I didn't really realize the future that was before me. It was like I was the future was undecided. It was truly up to me. Statistically, no way.
How did you get there first? How did you get to us? I know, but now the people, how did you get to that front steps?
It was my older brother, my big brother, Dr. Chris Harrison, and his lovely wife, Dr. Neka Harrison. They brought me to Omega. They were in college. They had been home on the break, like summer break, from Morehouse and Clark Atlanta University. And they took myself and Neka's younger sister, Mary, and they brought us, from the East Bay to the club.
I was trying to remember her name, Mary. Yeah.
Mary Parker now. She's a phenomenal mother doing great things. But we came over. I had no idea what to expect. But one of the fondest memories was the sound of the doors. And I always talk about this because when those doors open and shut, you're at Omega. It's just a sound. And that sound. Mm-hmm. Those heavy front doors, and they're so original. And the light being on, the porch light on Tuesday nights, and us coming really at first just to listen. We went through the classes, we would come to the family meetings, and I started to look forward to it every Tuesday night. And when they went back to Atlanta, my mother was like, "Oh, you're continuing." And I would take the bus and BART from school on a Tuesday night through the rough streets of San Francisco. But for me, we'll talk about where I had been, but it was nothing to me. I just knew I had to get there. And it was an experience that changed my life. I met so many people. That's where I learned that I had a story to tell. For so long, my story had been not my own. It had been the experience of others around me. But that's when I realized, I have an experience and I need to understand more about who I am. And that was the beginning. So a lot has transpired, of course, but that was the opening to this pathway of living and being alive and free. And for me, it's taken on various meanings over the years through every phase.
Before you get there,
yep.
I'm going to go back into that room, and I mean, you're in there you're not by yourself. You're in there with just other young folks who are also trying to find their way, and we're trying to help them find their way. And when did the sense of sort of community kick in? Because it's got to be, like, I don't know these people, right?
Yes.
Was it immediate for you? Was it like, did it take time? When did you start to feel it that, you were in a comfortable place with other folks like yourself?
Well, every year it evolved, but initially because I had my family and I had come with my brother and my sister-in-law, I felt right at home. But of course, I had to continue without them at a point. So I did have to make my own connection to the club. And it came through listening to Zach and Corey and others like them talking at the family meetings and telling their stories, and Jack and us just listening. It was just about taking it in and then identifying with some of the parallel experiences, and also understanding how people had overcome, and that there was not just a light at the end of the tunnel. It wasn't even about the end. It was about now, like being in the light now and experiencing the goodness of everything that we deserve, as youth. And it had been the complete opposite. Before I arrived, I felt that I was definitely trying to find my way through lots of darkness, which many people, growing up where we grew up in East Oakland, have that experience. You don't necessarily see the light. And even though tragedy is happening all around you, you don't understand that that doesn't have to be your story. But coming to Omega, we learned that there was another narrative, and that is what changes everything for us. It was a mental, psychological shift. And when I think about the message and what it means for myself, that was the beginning of a lifelong journey of healing on so many levels. And
what was going on with you then?
Yes. Well, I was in trouble. I was in trouble back then. And I don't even think you guys knew how much trouble I was in because I was silent. I would sit and listen. I didn't talk openly about my experience. I was just dealing with it. I had been, I talk about being in the streets. I can't pretend like the streets was my life because that wasn't my life. My mother, she had no intention for that to be the life that we experienced, but it was around us. And so I definitely got a taste of it. And I started getting caught up. With people and things that were showing me I was going to have to decide what type of outcomes I wanted to experience, because all I could see was tragedy all around. And so I started expecting that my life would be tragic. And I had some deep tragedies. And so coming out of that mindset, through coming in contact with the club and just understanding that I had the power to shift my life, even at such a young age. And I was having at that time a lot of awakenings, spiritual experiences, things that were being revealed to me, even as a 15-year-old. I knew I had a greater purpose. I mean, I think I mentioned this once when I came as a guest to talk to some students in person. I was standing on a street corner in San Francisco. My mother thought I was at school, and I was out there, with my friends, and someone came up to me on the street corner and said, "God has a plan for you. God has a plan for your life." I was scared. I was shocked and scared. Like, this person, they see right through me. I'm so scared. I believed them. I knew it. And I knew I was on the wrong path. And I've always been very intuitive about things. And that's how I live my life now. I trust my intuition, and I know when things are right, and when they're not, I no longer push that notion to the side. I lean into it. I allow, my own wisdom and feeling and consciousness to guide me. And those are some of the skills that I picked up learning the rules for living at Alive and Free, and practicing them, and also failing as well, meaning, I didn't always feel like I met the mark, and not just as the rules to living, not just as that applies, but just on so many levels. I always felt that I was not enough. I was insufficient, falling short of something. And
Right.
that became like a part of my identity. And lately, I've been going back for about 6 years. I've been on an artistic journey that helps me to understand my psyche and some of the things I experienced from that time I was a youth, from this time in my life when I came to Omega and before and after, but healing from a child. And I did that through art. And now I can apply this message of freedom to everything that I do. And it enables me to live in a space within myself that's free. And when I find that I'm bound again, I have the tools and resources. And that's what you guys did for us. You gave us the tools. We were never forced. And that's why we kept coming back. I know that's why I kept coming back. I was a very rebellious teen, not just because I wanted to be rebellious, but I have been hurt. And by the time a child reaches that phase when, you can't tell them anything anymore, it's just too late. I was past the point. So for you to be able to reach a person like me, you have my attention, and it was through love. We were being drawn in, no judgment. There was so much hope for us. You gave us examples. Kimba, you put examples before us and showed us a new way of how to live. And it was just
Vita,
so amazing.
I love the way you said it, because we liked you guys. We you don't know. We couldn't wait to see you on Tuesday. All of you. Not just, you were like Jack and me and Mrs. Stella. I don't know if Miss Morris was there when you were there. I can't remember when she was there, but the adults there, we couldn't wait for Tuesday night. Oh, they gonna come. We're gonna have class. Go ahead. This, so. Look, I hope that came through, because there was pure joy when you guys showed up. I mean, number one, when we started to sing, we didn't believe you was gonna show up in the first place. Why would they come to something like this? All these young people with all these issues, all this stuff going on in the street, they could be home doing this, and they gonna come here and sit with us, these strangers, and just cause and then tell us their stuff, and we're gonna help them. And I'm gonna tell you, from the day it opened, every Tuesday night we were thrilled. And I remember the early days you were there. I don't remember the exact day you were there, but I said, oh, this young lady, she got, and you know what? Even though we didn't know your story, we kind of know something going on here, so we know some stuff is going on, and Chris would say stuff, but I didn't know the exact details. But we know there's, family trauma, and we know what's going on in the neighborhood, and we know that you're carrying this stuff. And but we always say we can give people a prescription, but they gotta take it, right?
Yes.
And we can't live your life for you. We're responsible for the input and not for the outcome. And we know the journey is long, and you in your own, like so many others, but because this is an individual thing, embraced it. And so this is all about your journey through it.
It's been a journey. It's been a journey, and I truly thank you for trailblazing for us and for holding this space, all of you, for us for so many years and for so many reasons. You remain a stable force within our lives over the years. We could always come home. I can call you right now. I can text you. I text you every week just about. We're communicating. You stayed in touch. You check on us without any expectation. You love us and care for us. We feel like we have a family beyond our immediate families that we have. This is another community where we connect with like minds and we discover ourselves. I went through so many changes of what I wanted to be, and even what I am now. I accept the diversity of all the things that I'm interested in and that I do. And I found that I could be dynamic, just simple things like that. And it's celebrated. And then there's so many others. Like, it's just unbelievable, the level of excellence that we have in our community at Alive and Free. The alumni and the students who are going through the program is and our teachers and our leaders is just phenomenal. And when you go places, to this day, I'm still in touch with many of my brothers and sisters from the club. You know, we're doing different things in life, supporting each other. I try to make myself a resource to some of the younger members who are coming up through the ranks, just to share and be a mentor or a guide or whatever you need. You can find it right here at Alive and Free.
One of the things that, maybe the thing it turns out to be, that we said that we wanted to do for you was, and every time I tell this story, I said, "Why, you were crazy to say this." But no, Mrs. Stell will say, "No, God wanted you to say this," right? That if you can stick with this, you know, you pick the school and we'll help with the money, right? And I remember the first time I said that, Venus Winston said, "Oh man, he ain't doing that." He said that. And
That's a tall order.
And you know, I remember they went off and they started going off, and man, they really doing it. We're really going to what school you picked. Tell people what school you picked and what was that like?
Yeah, so for undergrad, I chose Chico State.
Right.
And I also had the experience to go down to Florida International University, and I lived in Miami for a year as well and studied women's studies. It was an incredible experience. It changed me forever. And yeah, I was there, and another fellow Alive and Free sister joined me, and she became my roommate, September Rose. So we ended up in Chico together. That was just like divine and crazy. You know, we were on campus, and I'm still very close friends with many of the people I met during that phase. But I went to college. Okay, and, you know, I knew I was a bright young woman from the jump, but I just doubted myself, and I was in so much trouble that it didn't seem like I could get there. And so I started to internalize failure, like it's not going to work for me. And the notion that I could not do it was a real thing. But then I understood that, yeah, I can. And I could be the brilliant person that I was made to be. Like, I don't have to hold myself back. And once I realized that I didn't have to hold myself back, that's when everything started to break out. And it still does to this day. I have to remind myself that the only one that can stop me from getting there is me. Wherever it is that I want to go and whatever I want to do, it's not external things. But yet, Chico State, and that was an amazing experience.
If I could liken you to, I mean, I can't even liken you to, I was going to say a flower, and a petal keeps growing out, and then something else grows out of the flower, and if something else grows out of the flower, it keeps growing and growing, and you know, then it becomes this, I don't know what it's going to become. And to watch you after college, and I want to emphasize to folks who are listening, it's a journey. You know, it's constant awakenings, and you can say it better than me. But what I get from you more than anybody is that you're always finding out stuff. Was there a turning point for you? Can you remember a turning point when it was like starting to kick in to the point where, you know, confidence get a lot better? I can do this. Was it 2 years after, or 3 years after, or was it after college, or when? Through the state, maybe stages is a better word.
Definitely, there were so many stages and defining moments in my life. And for a long time, tragedy just defined my life. I was marking my milestones by what tragedy had happened then. Because, you know, sometimes tragedy, it wakes us up, it brings us to the present moment, and it gets our attention, and we realize we have to choose to keep going and evolve from there. But there was, you know, definitely our mother passing. She passed about 3 months after I graduated from college, and it was her dream for us to achieve higher education. She knew that that was a pathway that would open doors and open up opportunities, and she was really big on education. So she made sure that we took advantage, and she saw us through. That was a difficult experience, losing my mother. But when I became a mother to my oldest daughter, Jaya, just the following year, I really held on to the experience of being a mother. And I think that became like my next, I don't know why the term battlefield comes up, but just when you think about a battlefield, and I'm not talking about going through the battle, just losing the battle. I'm talking about killing in the battle, like going through, it made me stronger. It made me feel like I had more of a purpose to give to this beautiful child that I'm raising. And then I decided I wanted to go back. I started my career in banking and I wanted to go to graduate school. And that was another challenge. And I know it wrecked my mental health for some time. Like I came out of that really beat up, but I did it with my baby in tow and trying to, you know, do all those things, climb the ladder in my career. And I kept reaching different plateaus until I got to the mountaintop of where I thought I wanted to be. And I just was tired. And I said, I'm sliding down this mountain. I cannot hold this. I have to let go. You know,
Now, when you say that mountain, you mean the mountain of, I don't think you're talking about the mountain of motherhood. I think you're talking about the mountain of maybe, well, specifically, what is that mountain that you had been climbing that you decided to let go?
Good question. I'm thinking about the pinnacle in terms of my career and where I wanted to be at a certain time in my life, in my career. And I felt that I had achieved some things and I had achieved some goals. And I realized that that wasn't quite it. It wasn't just the title of being a VP or being able to travel around the world and do all these amazing things that I did want to experience, and it shaped me. But I said, okay, now what? You know, like, okay, check. So what there has to be more. And there was like this insatiable like hunger inside of me to understand more about my purpose. And I had to go on this like quest to find it.
I like that.
Right. So that's when I took a break, you know, from my career, and I started to focus on creativity, and I started to do artwork and use that as a medium to tell my story and to begin to heal. And I realized, oh my gosh, I've been carrying so many things. I didn't know that I was wounded and hurt. I just kept going through all these things. And the art just kind of helped me to get a voice, you know, get things into perspective and start to really determine, you know, how it was that I wanted to live. So now I'm in a new phase, you know, of life. We talked about
that had to be a moment where you really had to trust yourself, because
oh gosh,
you know, a lot of people would have said, man, she got a successful career, she's doing this, she's doing that, you know, stuff, but it's not quite fulfilling. And I noticed something else. That had to be a moment where you had to say, Vanita.
It's true, it really happened. And see, the thing about it was I didn't know that I could do multiple things. I thought it had to be just business, and I was neglecting my creativity, not even knowing that I knew it was in there, but I hadn't given myself time and space to explore it. So I'm an artist too, as well as a business person, as well as a mother, and you know, just all these different things. I can do and be these different things, and I can do it at a high level when it's authentic. And I'm doing it for me, and also for the joy of giving whatever it is that I can give. And that's when I think I had the wake up, was when I realized it wasn't just about me. Like, it was about the legacy that I could leave. And the legacy that I want to leave is yet unfolding, but it has everything to do with empowering others to achieve their dreams. And I know the experience that you tell when you say, you know, when we come back, I ran into a couple of students of mine. I taught entrepreneurship for 3 years to high school students in Hayward. And I ran into 2 students this weekend, one when we were out shopping, one at a coffee shop. And they're just giving me these reports about what they're doing. And I'm just like floored, like, oh, this is it. This is fulfillment, you know, for me. And that's what I'm out for. It's not just about what I can get, it's about what I can give. But I have a lot of interests and talents. I love business and finance. And so I realized that I could create a balance when I decided to, you know, wrap up my break, my sabbatical, and return to my industry. because now I feel like I can be a more of an asset to my colleagues, my community, the people I want to serve, because it's all about information and education, me sharing knowledge to help others grow. And for me, it's been in the space of business and entrepreneurship.
Take me through the art thing. Was like, whoa, but they're doing art. What was, I mean, that's gotta be discovering that creative side of you, and letting it come out. And I remember you did your first show, and I was saying, does electricity run through your body? I mean, what is it like?
I mean, it's almost like a dream, and for me, I'm all about what it feels like what I feel, and within becoming an artist, it was out of feeling. I had never painted before. I had watched a YouTube video where I saw these women, they were painting and they were releasing trauma and they were crying and it was just coming all out on the canvas. And I just knew that's what I wanted to do. And then one day I woke up and just went crazy. I just got like all these materials. I bought stuff, I used recycled materials, and I just started painting, and whatever, I couldn't control what was coming out. And what was really interesting, and this is how I guess it's like a testament to how I live my life. And I still do this when I do my work, it's all perfect and good, and then I mess it up. And then it becomes what it's supposed to be. And I know at the end I get a feeling of completion. And when I had the urge to paint from the beginning, it was almost like I could taste it. Like I just felt it so vividly. And it just came from inside. And my brother recently asked me, he was like, where did this come from? I don't remember you, growing up, he doesn't recall that I was, showing them that I was this artist. And I said, I think it was always there, but I didn't allow it to come out because I had to become fearless. Like in this space, I didn't even know it would give me the gift of freedom because I can make mistakes. I'm not competing. I'm just being me. Yeah. It's just another part of my being that I could use for expression, So that's how that's been. And
I like that. I like that because we live in such a competitive world that, there's always.
I never painted before, so I can't. It is what it is, and it's just my experience.
This is me, right? This is I ain't competing against nobody else.
Like if you dig it, cool. We could talk about it. It's more. It's provided a space for like conversation and sharing this journey and learning about other people's experience, and then people get inspired. Like, you know what? I wanted to do that too, or. I might be a finance professional or whatever I'm doing, but I also like photography or I also like music, and I grew up in a place where those things were cultivated. I told you I was doing some healing back to childhood. And I think it was just being able to create the way a child would create. Everything is good. It's just whatever you do is fantastic, right? And I needed to go back and connect with that inner child. And when I do workshops and things like that, I encourage professionals to tap into that inner child. I always start off, what did you want to be when you were a child? What did you want to be when you grew up? For me, it was a teacher and it was a model. And in many ways, we can live out those childhood dreams just in the way that we express ourselves creatively. It's available to us. We don't have to start all over, let everything go. We can just start doing our own thing, just do it. Incorporate it all and be happy, enjoy the experience. It draws everything that we need.
Wow.
Can I just insert? Because oftentimes, Vanita, it's good to see you, baby.
You too.
It's I wasn't there when you went through. I was at your graduation when you were there at the benefactors reception. That was the first time I saw you when you finished Chico. But if I could just insert some words, often Dr. Marshall asked me to say something at the end. But if I could just kind of do this interweave it now, if that's okay. There is the words that I hear that have been a part of your journey is faith, whether that was recognized as faith or not, but there was some faith in there for you to change from one thing to another thing. Because typically in the world that we live in, you stick with it and you do that until you retire.
That's it. Oh my gosh,
But
that
to
hurt.
stop cold and say, no, I'm going to go do this, that takes faith, whether it's known or unknown. Trust.
Mm.
And sometimes we don't know that we trust. And who are we trusting? Well, yes, we put our faith and our trust and hope in God. But then there is that part of ourselves that is God. And we just feel it. You say, I feel it. I feel it. I know it. You can't touch it, but it's palpable.
You do know.
And you go with it.
Yes.
And there is a part of it not mattering because you already know. And so you keep going. Then the courage when everything around you is, are you serious right now? Even that little voice inside you that says, what am I thinking?
I hear it often.
You keep going. And so what I heard the last thing was in terms of your art. And you say art, and it may be a picture or a drawing, but what I hear in the art is in the living. So it's not limited to what goes on paper or whatever form of art for the sake of art, as we know it to be. It's not limited to that. But what allows that, and this is what people rarely do, and it just came to me, you allowed the wall of conditioning and beliefs to melt away, and allowing those walls, those barriers to just melt away. So the you that is beyond you comes through.
Oh my gosh.
That's all I've got. That's what I wanted to say.
Why Cheryl says all I got to say? She never.
No, you said it. You said it. You read me. You interpreted everything that I wish to convey. And of course, you don't really know, like when you're going through these experiences, what the outcomes are going to be. But after a while, you talked about this spiral earlier, upward and onward. But after a while, you start to come back around to some familiar things. And I started looking at life like, this is a test. I've seen this and I'm about to ace it this time. I don't have time to repeat this lesson.
Let's talk about that spiral.
I've been here, and that spiral, you go up, but you also go down as you go up. And you're
at the same spot, but but in a different level.
At a different level. So what are you going to
get there and you recognize it like, wait a minute, I've been here before, but I'm not the same I was when I was here before.
Not at all.
Well, I recognize this.
I'm better equipped, for this test.
That's right.
And I'm going to get through it. And if perhaps I don't, no problem, because guess what? I'm continuing to go forward. And so we have to give ourselves that grace and that compassion for the life that we experience. I learned about self-compassion. I do a lot of focus on mental health. And even in my profession, Friday, I took the day off. I call it my mental health day. I do it every month. Maya Angelou said we should always take off at least once a month. So I do that, and I call it my mental wellness day. But it's good to be aware of the care that we need. And when we keep going through life, sometimes we have bumps in our on the road, but it doesn't always have to be hard. And I used to believe it had to be, and I know that there's challenges, and I'm totally not afraid to face challenges. I'm all about it every day. But I also know that there's room for ease. And I don't need to be weighed down with challenge. Like lately, I've just been like, okay, go. Like, I just don't have time and space for this anymore. I need peace. I need freedom. I need ease. I need rest. I need to be able to think. I need to be able to sleep. I need to, all the things that require me to be able to function and live the life that I want to live. It starts with my wellness. So I've been very, just very adamant about caring for myself in that space. And then it enables us to do everything else we need to do at a high level. And I know there's probably another common question coming. I'm kind of going on a tangent, but just understanding what we need will enable us to keep going. So focusing on ourselves, like, I just think that's so critically important. It's something we have to prioritize more. And especially as a mom, that's something, a lesson that I continue to repeat. And when I'm at that E level, I know that I need to give myself more so I can continue to soar. And when Mrs. Estelle starts talking, I start rhyming, because she does. Don't you love to, you're poetic and you love to rhyme. I love the way that you teach us, because those rhymes and those words, they stay situated in our hearts. And when I'm talking around you, I feel like I take on that tone as well. And it's a beautiful way that you speak and that you teach.
Thank you. I don't try to rhyme. It just comes out that way.
It just comes out that way. It's so beautiful. It's like a song.
Well, it doesn't. It's like a what, Mrs. Still? It's like a what?
Like a song.
Like a song. And what do you do, Mrs. Still?
Yeah, I sing.
Yeah. That's why. That's why it's like a song. That's her art. That's hers.
Exactly. That creative joy
Yeah,
you share is so natural. It comes naturally. Whatever comes natural.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This is,
While he's pausing,
yeah, go ahead.
the workshops that you do, consider the idea with whoever you're doing those workshops, especially if they are professionals, who tend to be in a box.
Oh, yes.
Tight. Imagine the desire that they have that they don't know they have, for those walls to melt away, so that the them that's beyond them can come through. It is so freeing. So consider including something that gets them in touch with an awareness that this work, to put it and then scribble it and then just love it, is
Just
the beginning of, that stiffness in the back of your neck, feeling that just come all the way down while they are messing up that paper, and then talking about how beautiful it is.
And it's like jazz.
Beauty in the
It sure is. It's improvisation. It's just doing what we feel in the moment. And I know I'm a recovering perfectionist and a recovering workaholic, just so many recoveries in my life. But being able to improvise in the creative space, but then in life in general, everything doesn't have to be perfectly calculated. Like, we need to give ourselves room for the unexpected. And for me, that's where my joy comes in. And I like variety. I like change. And I didn't know that I needed that. I would just suffer through experiences. And, after you hit the ceiling, sometimes you just get bored and you're ready to move on. You're ready to grow. And I like to be in spaces that promote and encourage growth and evolution, whether it be in a professional space, personal relationships. Just, we need to be able to evolve. And we need to not only just be able to give ourselves permission, but engage with communities where those things are prioritized, because that's what the human experience is all about. Our culture has traumatized us with all these standards. And I think you asked earlier, when did the breakthrough, or when did it happen? It happened when I realized I was keeping up a lot on my shoulders. Like, I was doing all the things right. And it just becomes too hard. And that's when the breakdowns happen. And even with my own children, I have vowed not to put them through that. I let my children be who they are. My path and my journey is my own. I want them to develop their own likeness and know that they are loved and supported through all of it, because it's not always perfect, but it can be beautiful. And I truly believe that.
Girl, you're making me, I ain't got nothing to say. It's so good. No, well, I'm thinking, I mean, see, the word I use is spiritual, but you're a spirit. That's the way I see it. You're a spirit. That's the word I'm using. And I wonder, I don't think people really know what to do with a spirit. When you're doing work. And they be like, because they're encumbered, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this goal and that goal, I gotta this when I'm 25 and this I'm so like this so and all these and as one who has freed them herself in this case from that and all you can do is just give your thoughts and just be you. You can't make nobody do this other way, but you can give your thoughts about it. How are things received when you do that? I'm just curious, how are things received?
Oh my gosh. So, I'm definitely one of those people who I cannot go with the status quo. Like I always challenge the status quo. And in the way I live my life, whether I was on the wrong path or if I was on the best path, like it's always going to be done my own special way.
Yeah.
And I've always suffered for that because I've been an outlier. It was difficult for me to fall in line. And I came to embrace that. I'm going to be a disruptor. And sometimes you have to be situated and be at peace with who you are and what element that you bring. It might be inspiring for some, it might be upsetting for others. I try to just think about, I talked about earlier, tapping in and trusting my own wisdom is truly important. I was going around for a long time seeking answers outside of myself, and it was just exhausting and confusing because you get a lot of different feedback and it's going to be based on everyone's experience, and that's cool. But what do you believe? What do you think about a situation? And we know, but we need to be validated sometimes. And so I just thought, I don't need to be validated. I'm a team player. Anything I do, I definitely do give my all, and I will move on when it's time to go. I accept that there needs to be continuous movement and growth. And I thrive, on that. Am I answering the question? Sometimes I get carried away.
No,
I have a lot to say.
No. And this is the stuff I wanted to come out because this is what is part of the journey, right?
It is. It totally is. Definitely.
I'm going back to this child thing, right? And
Yeah.
see, I think all of us are born perfect, and I think we start getting messed up.
No, you're right. There's obvious research out there. Children, they don't have all these preconceived notions. They don't have these rules, and we put these binds for safety. We do it because we want to protect them. You're safe if you don't go outside the lines.
Right.
But it's also, I think it's apparent that that's not healthy, and especially the rates that we're seeing with young people. There's a lot more. There's a spike in suicide. Let's just be honest. These things, it's really happening. People just can't live up to this. Like they can't take it anymore. And I personally identify with that experience. And I just think that we're in a time right now where we're being forced to change, and change is good. Change is on the horizon. Change is what we need. We're going through a global shift of consciousness, and no one can ignore it. Everything around us, the economy is changing, the climate is changing, just there's so much movement, and we have a responsibility to care for ourselves through this as best as we can and to be of aid within our communities. But I think that it's important for us to just tap in, tap into whatever it is that that you need to bring forward. I think that's my major message. For me, it's been through art, it's been through education, and it's been through business. And those have been the channels that I've been able to reach people and to impact and create positive change. I haven't done it by myself. I have a lot of support. and I've learned how to lean into support. I'm Superwoman. I retired that. That was another part of the slide down the mountain. I was done flying. I was done saving everyone. But guess what? I can actually save more because I saved myself. I'm sound. I'm healthy. I'm well. I'm confident. I can move forward. I can adjust. I can cry. I can be hurt. I'm human. I can be fully human and fully capable of doing everything that I need to do. I can fail. I can succeed. I can do all these things. And it doesn't take away from who I am. It actually empowers me. And guess what? If I'm empowered, then I'm going to be able to empower others. I've been on a mission to empower women of color, and especially women who are seeking to build wealth and to change the trajectory of their lives and the lives of their families. And I've been doing that just by sharing my knowledge. When I went to Chico State and I majored in women's studies, people said, well, what are you gonna do with that? I didn't really know for sure, but I just knew it was something that captured me. And then when I went on to graduate school and I studied business because I had this business mind and I wanted to figure out how to couple these interests. And it didn't happen overnight, but I just kept seeking and searching, and I still do. Every day I commit myself to learning something. Right now I'm learning about NFTs, and as an artist, that's a really important space to gain more knowledge and exposure in. I went to an event yesterday and exhibited my work at Bay Area Tech Runs in Hillsborough with Trap Art, which is an arts organization out of Oakland. And it was a panel there, and they spoke about crypto, and they spoke about all these spaces that are involved in it. And they create an environment for us to come together, and they make all the information accessible, and it's a diverse platform. So people who may have been in this world and maybe experts can engage with people who are newcomers. And it's just an amazing community that's evolving. But every day I commit myself to learning and teaching others what I know to help them advance. And during the pandemic, I served over 300 entrepreneurs. And I'm really proud to be able to do this work. And I know that there's things on the horizon. We talked about the economy is changing. So I'm educating my clients and mentoring others around preparedness, for what's ahead, thinking about these things. And we have to evolve. We need to be aware of what's on the horizon and not be afraid to change. Those who adapt and change are the ones that will be at the head of the curve. And so as a millennial, I'm very fortunate to have been in the analog world and in the digital. So I can speak both languages and be humble enough to learn new things and not just holding on to what I know, but saying, that's great, what I know, fabulous. But guess what? Someone else is going to be able to teach me more, and that's going to make me a more valuable asset to serve, because service is my #1 priority. That's something I learned.
I gotta say this is rare, and I'm gonna say this, and to be able to be who you are, do what you do, without ego attached to it. That is, there's a lot of people doing a lot of things, but they'll let you know that they're doing a lot of things.
Well, you have to let them know. You got to run down your credentials on site.
I'm talking about it's palpable. As soon as you hit the door, you get like, okay. So what they're really saying is there are big eyes and little U's. When there aren't, there really aren't. There are no big eyes and little U's at all, because but for the grace of God, all those things that we always say, but we don't really mean. And and maybe for me, a bunch of things about me for you, but to do it with the way you do it, with the grace you do it, without like the purity. That's the word. I hit the word, Ann. The purity with which you do it is just and that reaches people. I think that reaches people me more than anything.
Thank you. I think being authentic is a big part. We're talking about being alive and free. You know, being able to live authentically is really important. And I have been in a space of being trapped by ego. And that's when you're no longer free. You know, you just, no, you can't do anything. Every move you make is calculated based on what someone else has to say or what they think about it. I suffered in that space, and I had to come out of that mindset. And so I love that. That's like a spiritual truth, just releasing ourselves from the ego. And,
Yep.
that and our culture celebrates it, and it can be fun, you know, for a while to flex, but it's not necessary. And
No.
it's not necessarily helping anyone else to grow. And I found that those things are rooted in our own insecurities. So the more empty and insecure I am, I need to hold myself up on these things. And that's why I stripped myself away I stripped everything away. I stripped away everything that was defining me. And once I let everything go, I was able to define myself. And now I'm an opportunity magnet. I don't have to really, you know, things just come. And I can share because I have to turn down opportunity now. Why do I say that? I say that because I'm not thirsty and hungry. I'm fulfilled. So
That's actually a new word that I like, thirsty.
I know, I was dying of thirst. When the ego, you're always going to be thirsty. You're always going to need, you know, to fill that void with something. And so when we release ourselves from those things, that's when we can really get into it. And that's when the real abundance in life starts to flow.
You use the word authentic. I'm going to use my word, purity, because I you know, that would be my word for it. And
that's beautiful.
I tell people a lot of times, alive is free. It's pure. It's pure. Don't dilute it. Don't mess with it. When you start trying to cut it up and put it in there, because the intentions are just so pure. And I'm gonna. You're that way. To me, that you are. I'm just. Look, I ain't trying to. I'm just trying to give you what I got. You know, if you want to hear, fine. But I'm cool. I'm gonna keep doing my thing, and there's no ego involved here. And I think that's the only thing that reaches folks. So when your students come up and say that to you, and I can just tell by your reaction, you're like, oh right, you are generally happy when they got it.
Totally.
Oh hell yeah.
It feels good. Yes, like we can celebrate the success of others.
Yes.
You know, like we literally get something out of it if we give ourselves the chance. There's enough. We live in a world where we have been conditioned to think that there's lack. I mean, our economic system is based on lack. You know, I learned that when I was in graduate school. I was stunned, and I was like, oh, okay, it makes sense. But yeah, no, there's enough for all of us to have a seat. There's enough for all of us to have a piece, to fully be ourselves.
I like to say, there's no limit in getting to heaven. We can all get there. There's room for all of us.
Totally.
Absolutely. And I remember when I looked on LinkedIn, and then you said earlier, I was a little girl, I wanted to be this, I wanted to be, you said this, I want to be a model. And lo and behold, what do I see?
Craziness.
I see Vanita Lee modeling. I said, yo, what was that? From the painting to the modeling, what was that? That must have been.
Creative expression. I've always been into fashion. That's a big part of who I am, expressing myself creatively. And modeling was always a dream that I did not believe I could achieve, because someone literally told me that I couldn't do it, and I believed them. And I just, again, going back, and I've been going back to understand, okay, when did I start believing this? Because like, I'm going to change that belief. That is not true. You know, one person told me that, and probably 1,000 people asked me if I was a model. So why was I not listening to the positive? I let that one negative comment.
Yeah.
I held myself back. I let that impact my beliefs. So we need to understand more about our belief systems, where did they come from? And are they still relevant? Maybe for a time, a belief system held us and maybe even protected us. But sometimes we need to go back and reassess and let go, because that doesn't apply now. It's not the truth.
The question, to whom or what do we give power? Again, you have allowed the walls of conditioning and beliefs to melt away.
I remember seeing a picture of, you said something about, I'm gonna have to get you, we're gonna get her and her husband on our next, when we did our Black Love show, and we did one last year. We did one this year and it was fabulous. But I remember seeing a picture of you and him on LinkedIn. You were talking about, I think the word you used was support. And then your daughter, you're every, and the thing is it's just, you get to be you with everything.
Oh my gosh, the love component, that's where all of this started to change when I received real love in my life. That's when the healing started to really take place, because I realized I didn't know what the experience of love was. I don't think I had ever really experienced it. And I definitely didn't love myself enough. And love started to heal things. It's been the experience of having a dedicated partner has changed my life, because I was so accustomed to doing everything on my own because I had to. And then I just said, this is the way that it is. And that became part of my belief system. And I was priding myself on not needing anyone because I didn't have anybody. So, it was just like I was using my trauma. So I was being propped up on my trauma. But the fact of the matter is that I can benefit from having someone, and I can be with another person, and that person happens to be a healthy individual.
Yes.
Mentally, spiritually, physically, just their health and their lack of trauma has influenced my healing process. And so I've been learning a lot through love, through having a husband. I didn't grow up with my father in my life. He passed when I was very young, and I had a lot of pain, in that experience. And I just learned not to rely on anything. I'm just ready for anything to fall apart at any moment. And I said, that's so sad to live a life that way. So always be ready to jump ship. And I have been jumping and running for so long. And I reached a place, fortunately enough, where I didn't have to run anymore. And anytime even still, if I try to run, he's not letting me go, and I need to know that. I need to know that I'm cared for. I need to know that I'm wanted and loved, so that experience is being reinforced, and it's changed me. It's changed my perspective in life. I've been so used to not having that security, and I didn't even know that I'd accepted and internalized that for so long. And so it's still new, and it's definitely helping my life to flower all the more and to blossom. It doesn't take away from my strength as a woman or anything. This person is completely confident with me being me. I don't threaten them. I can be a powerful woman.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. What I like about
Wait a minute, hold on.
What?
You said what? You said what? I don't threaten them.
They're not threatened by my greatness.
What?
They celebrate it.
They are not threatened by your greatness. Instead, they celebrate it, encourage it, support it.
My biggest supporter, just in my corner, solid. Something that blows me away. I never take it. I won't say I never take it for granted, but for a while I just didn't understand it. I'm like, what is this? Like, every year it just goes deeper. But for sure, having support and having the love of a partner that's dedicated is a wonderful experience. And I encourage anyone who desires that to not give up, and also be willing to receive it, because
Hold on.
that's another part of it
Wait.
as well. You know, I can easily be like, just having this attitude, and it's not necessary. When you come to a place where you don't gotta fight no more, stop fighting. Like,
See,
let
this is
go.
what people
It's
need
not a
to hear.
battle.
That's why I'm saying,
It's just
hold
easy.
on, wait.
Mhm.
There's no threatening. There's no taking for granted. It is given and it is received. It is present in both places, coming to you, coming through you.
Yes.
Baby, that's what I'm talking about.
I mean,
That's what people need to hear. And
Yes.
that's not an easy place to get to. That takes work.
It sure does.
Well, what I was gonna say was still.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's
Thank
all
you.
right, because it was on the same. He's not a competitor, and that's what I liked about he doesn't compete with you. And so many people compete with people in relationships, and when you know it when you see it. I mean,
there, it's hard.
we love to see Anatone, and why can't I think of her name? The names I'm losing. Letitia, they're not competitive. It's just wonderful to see people that are into competing, right? And I don't know why people do this thing that everybody's star can shine, and yours doesn't get diminished by somebody else's star shining. I don't, but I know it's a competitive world. Everything is about competition, and I mean, I know what I mean. He didn't compete. He's like, oh yeah,
I know. It's like, okay, it's just so much peace. Even yesterday, I told you about the event with Bay Area Tech Runs, and he helped me, set up my display.
Yeah.
And we had the baby, and I was really feeling nervous because it's been a while since I've been out sharing my artwork in person. And this isn't my first rodeo, so I've been in marriage and relationships in the past, and had to, accommodate others' lack of security within themselves when I'm trying to do my thing.
Yes.
And it's like, he's there rooting for me and encouraging me and giving me all this powerful messaging before I even walk into the door. And I don't have to worry about if his ego is being bruised, because this is my platform to share what it is I need to share. And this person supporting me and not tearing me down and not being loathsome because the attention is off of them for a moment, when really we're in this together. And we've been doing
your star shining does not diminish his. And so many people can't figure that out. They can't figure that out. Like I said, we can all get to heaven, right? We can all get to heaven. All our stars can shine. But that is hard for people to get to, because people are it's a competition thing. Everything is competition, right? And so, but then that's why the work has to be done on yourself first before you can. To me, it's always done on yourself before you can bring something to a relationship. Always done on yourself.
You have to. It's critical. I mean, that's truly important. And then if you do decide to be in a partnership or a relationship, making sure that it's with someone who is complementing the journey, who is contributing health and wellness on the journey, who is helping to build and sharing in an equitable relationship and love and partnership. And for myself, I didn't know I deserved it, number one, so it wasn't showing up in my life. What I was believing I deserved was right there. And one day I decided, I know that I'm worthy of more. So once we understand our value, it was really just coming into a space of seeing and accepting, loving and being who I am, and knowing my value, that everything else in my life will start to reflect that. It's not the other way around. So for many years, I was working on the outside, but once I started working on the inside, the outside automatically transformed, and it continues to. And that's why I do I'm on a 10-day challenge right now. I'm on day number 8 or 9. I have to go check my notes, but I'm focusing on my health and wellness. And I have some goals I want to achieve and some things I want to reach and some things I want to change within myself. So I focus on that every day. If it's in something, giving myself something that I need, but continuing to evolve and being able to be real about our role in this. It's not always about what somebody else is or isn't doing. It's about what we're bringing to the experience. So I know I need to grow and mature in some spaces, and I'm dedicated to do that. Nobody can do that for me. Nobody can give me, not even my beloved husband. No one can give me everything that I need. I have to be willing. And so I've devoted, to myself, and sometimes we get off kilter. That's fine. It's just about getting back to that center, coming back to the essential foundational things. The message for us is being and staying alive and free. If that's at the foundation, no matter how we waver, no matter how the wind blows, that's going to be what's tethering us and what's keeping us and what's holding us through all of it. So it's very important to have a set of values that guide you from the foundation. It will help you get through anything.
Wow. I said at the beginning that this is, I don't even know what chapter this is, but there's so many pages yet to read in this book. And that's what's so great about it. And what I'm envisioning us is capturing you in snapshots as this thing goes along. And it just happens that this is the 35th year, this alumni year. And so we captured in this, but I know there's gonna be so many more. I don't even know what to call it.
You don't know. And that's the beauty of it too, because for a long time I had it all figured out, and that's just boring. We need some variety. We shouldn't know what's ahead at every turn, right? So that's what gives us excitement in life. That means we're truly living.
Absolutely. And one day there'll be a book, and there's gonna be so much. We're not gonna predict it. We're just gonna let it happen. Just gonna let it happen. And I just got, look, for me, I'll say me, because when you guys come in that room, and I pray, that we're gonna give you something. Number one, I can keep you, because I got into this because people was dying and going to jail, right? Keep you alive, keep you free, keep you out the way, launch you onto whatever dreams you have in life. And so when these things actually happen, because we can't, and I always tell people, you love your kids, but you can't live their life for them, right? They gotta, so you give them everything you can, but they gotta live it. So when, and there are people where, things work out differently for people. I'm not gonna, I've had my share of, oh my God, I wish it hadn't gone that way. Wish they had listened a little bit better. But when the flower blossoms and continues, then you're like, yeah, I mean, you remember Vanita came in the room? Remember her, man? Look at Vanita. And that's just what we do. We're so happy. You get me and Miss Stell and Ms. No, we're just so happy. It's just, once the jail blow up, you can be, oh my God, look at that. That's what you do when you love young people like that. And
it's such a gift.
It's just thank you. Just thank you for just coming, listening, and then taking it and running with it, doing your thing. And man, this is just, yeah. Thank you for being Vanita. That's all I got. That's what I got. Kristen Necker, if you're watching, thank you. Mary, who has years, I'm glad to hear she's doing well.
She is.
And tell her I said hi. Absolutely, tell her I said hi. I remember taking her home, driving her home, right?
Yeah.
One of her stuff. So, what did Coach say? Some get it right away, some get it sooner or later, some that we don't know who, so we give it to everybody. So I'm glad that she's okay, because I definitely remember her and the things that she was dealing with. And you don't normally say anything, but you're gonna say something tonight, okay? And I'm gonna give it back to Mrs. Stell, and we're gonna let this special lady move on her way. And the next time we're gonna do this, I want you on our own Black Love show. Okay, I want our own Valentine's show. We're gonna do it again, because I got to hear from this brother. Bro, how you get to be like that when so many brothers ain't like that? He need to give brothers a lesson. Okay, all right, and you first.
I love Vanita. Every time she comes on, and it's not even just on the radio show, it's like over the emails or in person, like you always inspire me. Like sometimes I feel like you're like I share like these thoughts or things that you say, and then I start to tear up because it's like, wow, like you're not alone. And I think it's
Right.
because you're sharing uh your honesty and the candidness, and it's just real life, and I just love that. And I think it's so important, one, with like being like like a human, but like being a woman as well, and just really
Yeah.
embracing every single part of yourself, the parts that we want to hide, but also realizing that like we all have these pieces that are kind of
Ooh, yeah.
and you're like, but it's okay because like we uplift each other. And so I think for me, it's always kind of like this, I don't want to say like breath of fresh air, but it also is, like you're not just this Instagram person, you're a real person sharing real thoughts, real tips about business and life and just everything. And I think that's what we need, right? We're not just it's not just about making money, right? It's like being good
Impact.
people.
Yes,
Yes, impact.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's a
Okay.
beautiful place to be. We, I always say the only problem that I had with money was that I didn't have any. So that was the only problem with money. So it was all about making money for such a long time because of, coming from, again, where we started. But then you evolve, and the money is only natural. Getting into something that you're passionate about, that's making a difference, it's only natural that you'll succeed, and continue to educate ourselves financially, so we can grow and we can get to where we want to be. But there's so much more. There's so much more to give, to share, and my fulfillment is coming through in another way, and it feels good. This is what I've been searching for, and I'm so fortunate to have found it. And guess what? It was there all along. It was just about self-awareness and that personal discovery that we all have to decide, that we want to embrace.
Your turn, Miss E, Lady E.
I just marvel at this whole process of being a teacher, guiding, encouraging, supporting, inspiring, giving information and correction and direction, and then to be in a position to sit back and listen and learn and to be guided, inspired, encouraged, corrected, redirected, given clarity from the young people that you have worked with and prayed for and prayed about and watched and taught and and so here I sit. What a blessing for me to sit and hear you teach me, encourage and inspire me with your journey, your story. Being fully human in a world like this, when the only thing that sustains us, keeps us, is something that's beyond us.
Mhm.
I call it God, because that's just who I am.
Yes.
And to get in touch with your journey, yourself, to know that you are fully human and you can be all that it is that is involved with and a part of being fully human. And it's okay. So it's really been a blessing to hear you, to see you, to learn from you, to be inspired by you. And wow, I'm just blessed and delighted. And I am, what did Dr. Marshall say? There's a book. Well, you're writing the book. You get to decide what chapter it is. You get to decide what it's going to be. You get to decide if it's going to be a book. You get to decide if it's going to be a movie. You get to decide. And I don't want to keep talking because now I'm getting wound up. So just let me just say, it's been a real pleasure, Vanita. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you. Blessings to you on your journey.
Thank you.
That you can still see, that you will feel, see, know, and trust. And follow that guidance.
Can't wait to hear more on the story as it unfolds. Keep that smile, baby. That's my Vanita. That's my Vanita. Look at that smile. The more you
I can't
know,
stop smiling.
the more
This
you
is
know,
so
the more you owe.
amazing.
The more you know, the more you owe. Thank you, honey, for spending this time with us.
Thank you
And
all.
we'll see you down the road.
And date 8, date 9, girl. If it's a JJ, those are hard for me.
Coming to a close.
Congratulations.
Love you. Get some rest, honey.
Love
Thank
you. Okay, have a great evening. I'll see
Okay.
you soon.
Good night.